there were a few people that had minor problems associated with it, and they were talked to or handled by people who knew exactly what to do. Yeah, there was nothing. There were no bad drugs there. Okay. There were no hard drugs at all. No
hard drugs.
There were no hard drugs at all.
No heroin.
No, nothing like that. No, there were only natural herbs, including marijuana and psychedelics. There were those things. Yeah, there were natural psychedelic substances and marijuana.
LSD.
There was LSD. Yeah.
That's not natural.
No, I'm saying there were natural herbs and substances and
psychedelics
and the only non-natural psychedelic, I believe, was there was actually woodrose seeds and things like that that had natural acid amine molecules in them and stuff. The only non-natural occurring substance on that level, psychedelic, I believe, was LSD. There was some good LSD there. There was none bad.
Psilocybin.
Oh yeah, there was natural things. All those are natural substances.
No, psilocybin's not.
Oh, there may have been. Well, it's derived from it's synthesized from the natural product.
Synthetic.
Yeah, they're all synthesized from
well, peyote's not. Peyote is a natural drug.
Yeah, I can't guarantee that there were synthetic.
This had more. This didn't have to do with what was there.
It doesn't. It doesn't. It had to do
with the reaction
with the way everything that needed to be done got done by people who volunteered to do it as needed, including a major fire that within.
Who started the major fire?
It was started inadvertently by I don't know how, but on the spot we very efficiently got together a bucket brigade from down to the headwaters of the Wind River up to the place and put it out in the mountain on the side of the mountain and had it out within about 13 minutes or so. It just happened. Nobody told anybody what to do.
It was just
a fire. We need volunteers for a bucket brigade. I went. Everybody else that was there that wasn't doing something vitally important did it, and it just happened. It was not organized as such, except as there was a fire.
Was there an organized council with this?
No.
There was no dream council or
no. There were no councils as such. There were people. The whole gathering was a council. Every fire that people sat around was a council. I was going to tell you. The next night after I watched the girls get their noses pierced around the fire. And that was just a nice night. I had much higher nights where other things happened. Yeah. One of them was I was around a fire on the fringes of that gathering up on the side of a mountain where there were just people there were just about a half a dozen of us from all over the world, some of the highest and strangest people. One guy there was dressed only in a robe, carrying water and a bowl and a staff and a deck of I Ching.
Deck of tarot.
No, he had a tarot deck, but he had the yarrow sticks for the I Ching.
Oh, okay.
And he had come there walking from Mexico, from the peyote fields of Mexico, following his I Ching, and ended up at this campfire on the side of the mountain and on the edge of, along with several other people from around the world.
As one of the stops in his journey.
Yes, had no idea where he was going or what he was doing from there, but just was there at that moment. We were all just there at that moment. And we're real people, and nobody talked any bullshit or made any conversation. But everything
Be Here Now.
Yeah, everybody was there now. It was just like it was right out of Be Here Now, like you were in India or the Himalayas or somewhere, and these people just appeared, including him.
And what was talked about then? What was the conversation?
The conversation was about all sorts of things, all different people's. I mean, I couldn't recreate it, but it's like every moment was intense and meaningful and real, and people told things about their highest moments or different. I learned a lot about different occult arts and sciences that I was just beginning to. I had sort of been into on a certain level.
Night long?
Well, this lasted all night long for nights. For nights.
Just one place.
Oh, that one campfire was all night long. Yeah, sure.
Okay. Well, this is what.
But generally, it was like that. We played music. Not that campfire. We played a little bit of music, but it was the more serious of. At another campfire I was at, one brother gave away hundreds of.
Was this fellow Hawk at this campfire?
No, he was not. Not at that particular campfire. That was on I just happened to find this by chance, wandering around in the middle of the night at the Rainbow Gathering, because I do that. I walk around and see what's going on, and that got me to one night earlier. I got to where there were, well, different. Generally, there were about a dozen of us. At one point, there might have been a couple dozen playing some of the best music I've heard before or since, around the campfire all night long. Okay. And one brother had. Well, he must have had several hundred to begin with at the gathering, but that night alone he gave out 100 hits to these dozen people.
Now this was
acid.
This was an organized. No, we're talking.
No, that was not totally unorganized. Everything there was totally unorganized.
Everything there,
including the sign from the year before, which somebody just said, next year Wyoming. It was just a suggestion.
Somebody just decided that.
Somebody put up a sign. Yeah, he says that they just put up a sign. I didn't know that there was. I thought there was no sign. That's just where it ended up being. But apparently there was a little sign saying Wyoming. It may even have a question mark. I don't know. Let's listen to what he says.
I'm gonna walk down and take a piss. Read what he says.
Just still going on here.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're picking up with Rainbow Hawk's story about all this. He's talking about consensus and how the idea of consensus has been totally abused by a handful of folks to block consensus of anything that they can't control. Far too much of an ego trip and totally unworkable in year-round projects outside of the gatherings. For that matter, there has been an extremely rare 100% consensus about anything in over 2 decades of Rainbow, peace villages, fleets, and caravans being the exception, besides continuing the gathering themselves. That is, as an aside here, there have been consensuses at gatherings, and there have generally been consensuses for where the next gathering was going to be the next year. After Wyoming, we started having at Wyoming there was just a sign saying Virgin River, Utah, and that's we went to Utah. We couldn't have it at the Virgin River, but that's how we ended up going to Utah. In Utah was the first real Vision Council, which wasn't as much a Vision Council as a site for the next gathering sort of council, but that was sort of the idea was supposed to come from your vision, and you were supposed to speak from the vision of your heart. And they decided to go from to Arkansas, partly because the people that rode into the Rainbow Gathering in Utah with me, which I drove to in an old Plymouth I had and picked up scads of hitchhikers along the way, and we were talking about Arkansas, which is where I was originally from. And Utah had all kinds of problems being in the middle of the desert and with no water. And most of the people looking for it didn't even find it, or were told not to come.
I have to make me a tomato sandwich. You want one?
Sure. So anyway, after Utah, we started having these vision councils to decide where they were, and they usually came to one of the rare 100% consensus. And all of these other things that we mentioned, the Rainbow Peace Villages and the Rainbow Peace Fleet and the Rainbow Peace Caravans, did come out of councils that I attended. Some of there were many councils, but there were definite councils that reached consensus, 100% consensuses on those ideas at Rainbow gatherings, starting in Montana and New Mexico. And I know that for a fact because Rainbow Hawk and I were both part of those councils, as we say. So anyway, for that matter, there has been an extremely rare 100% consensus about anything otherwise in over 2 decades of Rainbow, with peace villages, fleets, and caravans being the exceptions, and also continuing the gatherings themselves has usually been an exception about a consensus coming out. And even those have gotten flacked by the high hippie-olders who have no way of controlling the Rainbow Peace Projects International or any single projects involved in the network. As soon as those self-appointed powers that be found out folks were just getting all the various projects together as their councils saw fit, and according to their own needs, methods, etc., and that the overall Rainbow Peace Projects International project welcomed everybody's honest and sincere efforts, all of a sudden the supposed elders, started attacking Rainbow Peace Projects International and claiming the peace villages, peace fleets, peace caravans, and projects never reached consensus at gatherings, which you, meaning myself, know is not true, which I just said. I know that is not true, that we did reach, I was present at various, more than one consensus, especially around the Rainbow Peace Villages, that were reached at Rainbow gatherings by totally open and honest and free councils that did reach 100% consensus around the ideas. So anyway, just to back up, and they've been attempting to tell folks they can't call their own projects Rainbow, can't call their projects Rainbow, nor use peace in the name, just peace, since Plunker claims some exclusive copyright trip on the old P period E period A period C period E period village name, P-E-A-C-E, village, name peacefully, and thinks he owns anything ever remotely resembling it.